Good afternoon, viewers and listeners of Concerned Citizens Media. Thank you for coming back. I miss you for a while. So I start by to share some just very short updates on different news. Uh, Today is June the 10th, 2022. Thank you again for coming back. So I will start with Ethiopian Foreign Ministry, briefing. He talks about uh, the peace between the Ethiopian government and the TPLF, uh, and talks about also Sudan issue, United Nations issue. Is in Amharic, but I will try to uh, uh, translate it or summarize it in a very short uh, way. So let's start with that. Then I have more videos and some news to read. Thank you again for coming back. So I'm here. I'm still around. So many things happened, but I was busy. I couldn't cover it. Apologies for that, but let's start. There you go. So this is Mr. Dina Mufti's briefing on the current situation in Ethiopia. There you go. Oh no, don't do that. Don't do that. Okay. Here.
የውጭ ጉዳይ ሚኒስቴር በሰጠው ሳምንታዊ መግለጫ መንግስት በሀገሪቱ ሰላም እንዲሰፍን የበኩሉን ጥረት ማድረግ መቀጠሉን ገልጿል። የውጭ ጉዳይ ሚኒስቴር ቃል አቀባይ አምባሳደር ዲና ሙፍቲ በፖለቲካ በኢኮኖሚና በዜጋ ተኮር ዲፕሎማሲ በተሰሩት ስራ ለጋዜጠኞች በሰጡት መግለጫም በመንግስት በኩል ለሰላም የሚደረጉ ጥረቶች ተጠናክረው የቀጠሉ መሆኑን አንስተዋል። መንግስት ሰላምን ለማምጣት በወሰደው ቁርጠኛነት ልክ ሌላኛው ወገንም ቁርጠኛ መሆን አለበትም ብለዋል። ይሁንና ህወሓት አሁንም ለጦርነት እየተዘጋጀ መሆኑን የዓለም አቀፉ ማህበረሰብ ልብ ሊለው እንደሚገባም ገልጸዋል።
መንግስት ከፍ ሲል የተጠቀሱትን ዋና ዋና እርምጃዎችን በወሰደ ልክ ሌላው ወገን በተለይ ህወሓት ቡድን ተመጣጣኝ እርምጃ ለመውሰዱ አሳሳቢ መሆኑን ምናልባትም ይሄ ቡድን ለሌላ ጥቃት እየተዘጋጀ መሆኑ ራሱ አሳሳቢ መሆኑን ዓለም አቀፍ ህብረተሰብ ይሄንን ስኩዌርሊ በደንብ አይቶት መኮንን እንዳለበት ተገልጾላቸዋል።
ከሰብአዊ እርዳታ ተደራሽነት ጋር በተያያዘ መንግስት በግጭቱ ተጎጂ ለሆኑ ዜጎች ሰብአዊ እርዳታ ተደራሽ እንዲሆን እየሰራ መሆኑን በማንሳት ሂደቱን በተመለከተም ምክትል ጠቅላይ ሚኒስትርና ውጭ ጉዳይ ሚኒስትር ደመቀ መኮንን በአፋር ተገኝተው መመልከታቸውንም አንስተዋል። መንግስት የሰብአዊ ድጋፎች ሳይቋረጡ ለዜጎች እንዲደርሱ ለማድረግ በተለየ ትኩረት እየሰራ መሆኑን ያነሳው መግለጫው ለዚህም ከተለያዩ የሰብአዊ ድርጅቶች ጋር በመተባበር የምግብና እህል ድጋፎች ከትግራይ ክልል ባሻገር በአማራና አፋር ክልሎች እንዲቀርብ እየተደረገ ነው ብለዋል። በሳምንቱ በፖለቲካ በኢኮኖሚና ዜጋ ተኮር ዲፕሎማሲ የተሰሩ ስራዎች ላይ ትኩረት ያደረገው የዛሬው መግለጫ መንግስት በሀገሪቱ ስላለው ወቅታዊ ሁኔታ ከተለያዩ የዓለም ተቋማት ተወካዮች ጋር ውይይት ስለማድረጉም አንስቷል። የሰብአዊ ጥሰት ጋር በተያያዘም መንግስት ጥያቄዎችን ለህግ እያቀረበ መሆኑን ያነሳ ሲሆን ይሁንና የተባበሩት መንግስታት ተጨማሪ ምርመራ ይደረግ ማለቱ ተገቢ ያለመሆኑን ከውጭ ተቋማት ተወካዮች ጋር በተደረገ ውይይት መገለጹንም ተመላክቷል።
በኢትዮጵያ በኩል የተመድ የሰብአዊ መብት ኮሚሽን እና ኢትዮጵያ የሚመለከተው አካል በጋራ ያጠኑትን የደረሱበትን የሰብአዊ መብት ጥሰትን መንግስት ለመተግበር ውጤቱ ሪኮሜንዴሽኑ ፍላጎት እንዳለው ይህንን ጉዳይ የሚከታተል የጋራ የሚኒስትሮች ኮሚቴ ኢንተርሚኒስትሪያል ኮሚቴ ሁሉ እንዳለ በህግ ጥሰት የተጠረጠሩ ሰዎችን ፍርድ እስከ ማቅረብ ድረስ የተከደበት ሁኔታ እንዳለ ኢቭን የመከላከያ አባላት ጭምር ማለት ነው። ይሁንና የተመድ በኩል ተጨማሪ ምርመራ ለማድረግና የነበረውን እንደገና ዱፕሊኬት ለማድረግ የሚደረገው ነገር አመቺ እንዳልሆነም የተገለጸበት ሁኔታ ነው የነበረው።
ከፖለቲካ ዲፕሎማሲው ጋር ተያይዞ የሱዳን ጉዳይ በጥያቄ የተነሳላቸው ቃል አቀባዩ ኢትዮጵያ የሱዳን ጉዳይን በጥንቃቄ እየተመለከተችው ነው ብለዋል።
ሱዳን ያለ አግባብ ኢትዮጵያን የተወሰኑ ቴሪቶሪዎች መያዟና ክሌም ማድረጓ ይታወሳል። ኢትዮጵያ ሁኔታውን ኢንፍሌት ላለማድረግና ወደ አላስፈላጊ ግጭት ውስጥ ላለመግባት ብልጠት የተሞላበት አዋጭ የሆነ የዲፕሎማሲ መንገድ ነው የያዘችው። ለሱዳን ይሄ ነገር ተገቢ አይደለም፣ ከዚህ ብትቆጠቡ ይሻላል፣ ጥሩ ነገር ቢሰሩ ይሻላል የሚል አይነት መልእክት በየጊዜው እያስተላለፍ ጉርብትናችን ላይ ካፒታላይዝ እናድርግ፣ አብረን በመኖር ላይ እንሂድ፣ ይሄ የተቀረውን ነገር ይቅርብን የሚለውን ነገር በየጊዜው ስትገልጽ ነው የነበረው። በመሆኑም ሞር ኦር ለስ ዊ ሃቭ ኦቨርካም ይሄ ኢንፍሌት አድርጎ ወደ ሪፍት ውስጥና ወደ ግጭት ውስጥ አለመግባታችን ጥሩ ነው። አሁንም አውር ሆፕ ኢዝ ዚስ ሱዳን ያለ አግባብ የሚገፋውን ነገር ታቆማለች ብለን ተስፋ እናደርጋለን። ምክንያቱም የሱዳንን ሕዝብ ፍላጎት፣ የሱዳንን መንግስት ፍላጎት፣ የሱዳንን የሪጅኑን ፍላጎት አይደለም።
በ3 ሳምንቱ ከፖለቲካ ዲፕሎማሲ ባለፈ በኢኮኖሚ ዲፕሎማሲም ከተለያዩ የውጭ ተቋማት ጋር በኤምባሲዎች በኩል ውይይት ስለመደረጉና በሀገሪቱ ኢንቨስት ለማድረግ በሚያስችል መልኩ ግንኙነት መደረጉም ተገልጿል። ከዛ ባለፈም በዜጋ ተኮር ዲፕሎማሲ ከሳውዲ ዜጎችን የመመለስ እንቅስቃሴ ተጠናክሮ የቀጠለ ሲሆን ከተያዘው 100,000 ዜጎችን የመመለስ እቅድ እስካሁን ከ34,300 በላይ ዜጎች ወደ ሀገር ቤት መመለሳቸውን ጠቅሰዋል። በአጠቃላይ በሳምንቱ ስኬታማ የዲፕሎማሲ ስራዎች መሰራታቸውን ነው ቃል አቀባዩ አምባሳደር ዲና ሙፍቲ በመግለጫቸው የገለጹት።
have more videos later on. So that's the weekly briefing provided by Ambassador Dina Mufti, and he touched upon so many different things. The first thing he mentioned, he blamed TPLF is not doing enough, and TPLF is preparing for another war. That's the accusation. But Ethiopia, the federal government, is totally engaged in a peaceful dialogue to resolve the issue. So that's an accusation, and we'll see. But the situation is still tense. The budget is assigned according to the news, but I don't know if the Tigray region get the budget, but the budget, federal government of Ethiopia assigned a budget for all regions, and Tigray is also included, which is a good sign, and they should get the budget, they should get the basic services, the water, electricity, telecommunication, the banking, all this should be restored, because we don't have to punish the whole population. The whole population should not be punished. They paid heavy price almost for, now it's almost 2 years. So it's surprising how these people are living. So those basic services should be restored if we are, if Ethiopia include the Tigrayans. That's collective punishment ordered by Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed is illegal, and it should be immediately lifted, and the budget, all things must be restored. That way, then we can claim that Ethiopia is for all its citizens. And the other thing he touched upon, and he also called the international communities to denounce, to put pressure on TPLF, force them to, engage in more peaceful way. It's already the international community is playing through Obasanjo or other, US, European Union. They are playing a constructive role to resolve that country's issue. And Prime Minister is not, I think, they talk for nice talk, but mostly they are preparing They are even budgeting the biggest budget for the military, and even calling on citizens to join the military. So accusing TPLF for war preparation, but they are also doing military preparation and putting big budget. Ethiopia is a farm country. The farm economy is not getting the money they're supposed to get. They are getting very small, and health sector, education, all these sectors are suffering because of Abiy Ahmed's war on its own citizens, and he putting much money again in the military, calling on citizens to register for military service. So there is no sign for peaceful resolution, and he's waging the war in Oromia, still the bloody war, and he refused to settle the issue through dialogue. That's still continue. So there is no sign. On humanitarian situation, he said Afar and Amhara, those displaced people, they are getting humanitarian aid, which is a good sign. All humanitarian aid needed people should get it. And the other thing he said about United Nations Human Rights Commission committee, is already assigned 3 senior members to investigate the war crime, the genocide happened in that country, but Ethiopia don't want that. Still rejecting again not to cooperate with that organization, with that investigative body. They are okay with Ethiopia and Human Rights Commission, United Nations Human Rights Commission already started the process. They are okay with that one, but they are not okay with a broader investigative body. Why they scared, I don't know. So they are rejecting it. They don't want to cooperate with it, and they don't want to get this job to be completed. So they don't want it. They don't want the war crime to be investigated. They don't want the genocide to be investigated. I don't know what they're scared of that committee. Why? So they don't want to cooperate with that one. And the Ethio-Sudan issue, Sudan is holding Ethiopia's land, extensive farmland, fertile land, taken by force. Some rumors say Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed authorized the Sudanese to take the land, but we don't have that evidence. But they are holding the land and displaced the farmers. And Ethiopia is so far is silent. So far is silent. They are not aggressive about the territories the Sudanese taken from Ethiopia. So they just want to talk about peaceful resolution. But I don't know what peaceful resolution when you're, the vast land is taken from you and occupied by foreign forces, and you keep talking diplomacy. So these are some of the briefing he discussed about. He talked about also engagement with international communities, diplomatic, economic, and successful. But which is good if it's successful. But we don't see any success. What we see is the ongoing war in Oromia and the conflict in Amhara region. Also, law and order operation. So many people are dying. So many thousands are arrested, detained, and journalists detained, and those anybody commenting about Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed detained, abducted. So these are the things going on in Ethiopia. Nothing good, nothing good. And medias are shut down. So far, I think, and about 19 journalists detained in Ethiopia, and several media, including Ethio Forum, shut down by the Prime Minister order. So there is no press freedom. There is no freedom for journalists to do their job, even just simple social activists to criticize, to say anything about Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed. So the other thing is Jawar Mohamed, Oromo Federalist Congress senior member. He is a person for, for party's foreign relation. He is touring the world, thank you, tour around the globe. He's facing some tough questions about his position, and he make it clear his position. Mr. Jawar Mohamed make it clear his position and his party's position that resolving the conflict in Ethiopia through peaceful means, through dialogue, and that's the only way to stop the engagement, the war engagement in Oromia or other parts. He's demanding, he's asking the Ethiopian federal government to declare ceasefire in Oromia and engage with the diplomatic mission. So that's his position. And if the prime minister listen to him and do it in a peaceful manner, peaceful way, without any bloodshed, it is a good position. It's a good position. But when one party refuses to engage, and you calling for a peaceful resolution, when one party is arming itself with money, military, bank, everything to destroy you, I don't know how you're gonna engage with in a peaceful manner. How are you gonna engage? That's impossible. But that is his position. He got criticized for that. He got blamed for that, and but he said he will not change his position. He's not changed his position. He still think peaceful resolution can come through dialogue and ending the war. That's his position. So the other thing created is a flag controversy. He's using, or his stage is using Oromo Liberation Front flag instead of OFC, Oromo Federalist Congress. So that's also creating discomfort and argument between Oromos, which is not needed at this time. Oromos need unity and speaking with one voice at this time. No argument over flag. I think OFECO didn't prepare the stage. The public prepared the stage. The public, the Oromos, and the Oromos love the OLF flag. So I don't know why OLF released a statement opposing that, because this is a public stage. Is not organized by OFECO, Oromo Federalist. It's not organized by Jawar. The public organized the stage and invited Jawar to speak. That's the situation. So we don't want any kind of argument, fighting over some flag at this time, at this critical time. We need all the Oromos to speak one voice against the tyranny in that country, against the bloodshed in that country, against the detention, human rights violations, and the burning of properties, even with the people inside, especially in the countryside and also some towns in Oromia. So The only way to stop is by speaking together, by speaking with one voice, demonstrating against it, instead of arguing over flag and using of the flag and other minor issues. Uh, we need to be united to speak against the dictatorship in Ethiopia, to end the bloodshed. Speak with one voice, do whatever we can to minimize the suffering of our people. Okay, being said that, let's read a couple of other news. Thank you again for coming back. I appreciate it. Let's see what he said, the translation of Ethio-Sudan. Ethiopia reiterates commitment to diplomatic resolution of border conflict with Sudan. Sudan has encroached Ethiopia's territory illegally, yet Ethiopia sticks to diplomatic effort. The spokesperson of the Ethiopian Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Dina Mufti, said in yesterday's bi-weekly press release of the ministry, Ethiopia has chosen diplomatic paths to prevent an escalation of the situation into unnecessary conflict, he said. Detailing Ethiopia's effort, Ambassador Dina Ambassador Dina recounted that the Ethiopian government has consistently been delivering peace talks offered to the Sudanese government to handle the issue, including the importance of capitalizing on bilateral relationships. We more or less overcome the escalation, and our hope is that Sudan will stop its illegal encroachment. Sudan's act is not in the interest of the people of Sudan and the region or Horn of Africa as well, the ambassador explained. The spokesperson, however, speculated that there are some foreign forces, which he didn't specify, are encouraging Sudan, and reiterated Ethiopia's stance. Sudan must return Ethiopia's territory and come to peace talks. It is to be recalled that in his parliamentary speech regarding the 2022 9-month evaluation, the Ethiopian Deputy Prime Minister and the Foreign Affairs Minister, Demeke Mekonnen, underlined that Ethiopia would continue pursuing a peaceful path without inflicting any atrocities. He said, "We are striving to resolve the matter in a peaceful way, and Ethiopia will continue that direction, and we want to notify you that we are working on that level." The Mecca, in his speech, accused Sudan of harboring terrorist groups that, according to his speech, have been launched attacks on Ethiopia. He said, "Their base is in Sudan. Giving such support and being a base for such group is tantamount to waging war, for which we have officially notified, and we are following the matter." But he also said that Ethiopia will continue all its efforts to resolve it in a peaceful way. In any measurement, we underline that our territory will be brought back. Answering questions from the media if the diplomatic relations of Ethiopia with the Arab would have become loose following the stalled process of pledged aid and the project, Ambassador Dina underscored that Ethiopia's foreign policy has clearly been crafted to strengthen diplomatic relations with the Arab countries, which he continued explaining have proximity with Ethiopia in terms of geopolitics, religion, and culture. In fact, there are some foreign enemies that might have twisted the issue of the Grand Ethiopia Renaissance Dam, also known as GER, and portrayed to these Arab countries that the dam will hurt them, adding, Ethiopia shall continue filling the dam and it does not have any intention of hurting any country, he asserted. He further explained that the delay of the aid or the project that the Arab countries had promised could be due to various reasons, including their policy and political interest in Ethiopia. But according to him, that does not mean the diplomatic relationship has loosened. The spokesperson further talked about the continuation of humanitarian aid to the Tigray region. The aid shall be delivered as long as the people of Tigray need it. Tigray is part of Ethiopia, and so do the people, and the Ethiopian government has been striving harder than any other international institution in ensuring the deliverance of the aid, he underlined. Okay, these are good diplomatic speeches. I hope they will be turned into actual practices, delivering aid to the people in Tigray. In his concluding remark, Ambassador Dina stated that in this week alone, the Ethiopian government has repatriated 34,367 Ethiopian citizens that were stranded in Saudi Arabia and pledged that the repatriation shall continue. It's just 34,000 from more than 100,000 citizens stranded in Saudi Arabia. It's just a small effort. Credit at this standard. This one is in a southwest state. It's a new state created recently in Ethiopia. Southwest state jails 20 defendants from 15 to 20 years for attempting to dismantle constitutional order by force. This phrase is keep coming back whenever they accuse individuals dismantling the constitutional order by force. The same happened to OLF members. A court in the newly constituted Southwest Ethiopian People's Regional State has jailed 20 defendants who are indicted accused of attempting to dismantle the constitutional order by force to lengthy prison terms ranging from 15 to 20 years, the Regional State Communication Bureau said. The defendants under the file name of Zaude Bakala were charged for allegedly plotting to overthrow the constitutional structure in various Kabales of South Benchi Woreda in 2020. The prosecutor's office further said that the defendants had violated the constitutional order by committing a series of murders, mutilation, displacement of civilians, and property damage. They were also charged with crimes of looting of properties, according to the Bureau. The sentencing was handed down by the Federal High Court rotating bench, which was presiding over the case involving the defendant and the prosecutor's office. The 20 defendants were convicted after failing to refute the prosecutor's evidence presented against them, the report said. Accordingly, at a hearing held on 9 June in Mizan City, the court sentenced 6 defendants each to 20 years in prison. 9 defendants were sentenced to 18 years in prison each. 4 defendants were sentenced to 16 years and 6 months each, and 1 defendant was sentenced to 15 years in prison. The South Bench Warada and its environs were a scene of several bouts of recurring violence in 2020 and 2021 that claimed the lives of dozens of civilians as well as security forces. In a statement released last year, the Zonal Council said that a total of 151 civilians and 28 security forces were killed. Moreover, 29 security forces were rendered disabled in the attacks, as stated by the Council. About 21,938 people were also displaced, while more than 732 houses were destroyed, particularly in Sheko, Gurafarda, and the South Bench Waradas, which were formerly under the Southern Nations, Nationalities, and Peoples, a regional state. The Council warned at the time that there is no guarantee that the issue will not lead to ethnic violence if it is not resolved soon, and demanded the intervention of federal forces. Relatives claim has returned to, a relative calm has returned to the area, which has since held a referendum to become Ethiopia's 11th regional state constituted out of Bench Sheko Zone, Kafa Zone, Daoro Zone, Sheka Zone, West Omo Zone, and Konta Special Warada. So that is the situation. Credit again for this news is Addis Standard. So appreciate Addis Standard always for giving us some news. So that's the reflection of Ethiopia under Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed. Violence, displacement, killing, and uncontrolled violence, really, under his leadership, failure in multiple fronts. I reported on that many times. So but I call upon him to resign. He is still there. He refused, but nothing is getting better. Nothing. This is about press statement from U.S. State Department on the issue of on the Iran nuclear issue. The IAEA Board of Governors resolution on Iran. Yesterday, we joined the overwhelming majority of the IAEA Board of Governors in expressing support for the IAEA essential mission of safeguarding nuclear material to prevent nuclear proliferation. Iran must cooperate with the IAEA and provide technical, credible information in response to the IAEA questions, which is the only way to remove these safeguards issues from the board's agenda. The resolution is at the heart of the IAEA's mandate and Iran's core obligations under the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, not about the Joint Comprehensive Plan Action of JCPOA. The United States remains committed to a mutual return to full implementation of the JCPOA. We are prepared to conclude a deal on the basis of the understanding we negotiated with our European allies in Vienna over many months. Such a deal has been available since March, but we can only conclude negotiations and implement it if Iran drops its additional demands that are extraneous to the JCPOA. Unfortunately, Iran's initial response to the board's action has not been to address the lack of cooperation and transparency that promoted a negative report from the IAEA Director General and such strong concern in the board, but instead to threaten further nuclear provocation and further reduction of transparency. Such steps would be counterproductive and would further complicate our efforts to return to full implementation of the JCPOA. The only outcome of such paths will be a deepening nuclear crisis and further economic and political isolation for Iran. We continue to press Iran to choose diplomacy and de-escalation instead. So that's a very strong press statement from U.S. State Department on Iran nuclear issue. And Iran, you're gonna hear it because of this board, this International Atomic Energy Agency's decision. Iran removed some controlling cameras, monitoring cameras from the site. So that's Iran nuclear issue is a very serious issue. It could create a major instability in the world. It has been, an issue for many years, never resolved. And Trump threw the agreement out. Now Biden tried to revive it. Now, so I don't know why the IAEA's board of directors come up with this resolution. Iran became angry now, removed all the cameras, monitoring cameras from the site, and more volatile now. So could be a world conflict, very bad one. Okay, thank you. That's the end of reading material. I have a couple of videos. One is about Iran, and one more video, then that will be the end. There we go. Okay, let's see. There we go. What?
Workers at an Iranian nuclear site turned off 2 surveillance cameras on Wednesday. Iran says it will disconnect more. The equipment is operated by the International Atomic Energy Agency, or IAEA. Its director says Tehran is making a mistake.
27 cameras are being removed. This, of course, poses a serious challenge to our ability to continue working there and to confirm the correctness of Iran's declaration under JCPOA.
Tehran says its action is in response to criticism from the IAEA. The UN nuclear watchdog says Iran has failed to explain uranium particles at some of its sites. The latest dispute is a setback for those hoping to revive the 2015 nuclear deal. It was designed to limit Tehran's nuclear ambitions in exchange for sanctions relief. But in May 2018, then-President Donald Trump withdrew the US and began reimposing sanctions on Iran. The following year, former Iranian President Hassan Rouhani told the remaining signatories his government would reduce its commitments every 60 days until they honored their part of the deal. Iran has since limited access to its nuclear sites.
They cannot expect Iran to fulfill and deliver beyond its commitments. All safeguard-related cameras and commitments by Iran are being operated and they are underway. Iran is not stopping them. Iran is only stopping those voluntary measures that were supposed to be implemented under the nuclear deal.
The IAEA chief has described the situation as tense, with negotiations at a low point and both sides blaming the other for a lack of progress. Victoria Gatenby, Al Jazeera.
Well, for this, let's bring in our reporter, Dominic Kane, who's monitoring this from Berlin for us. Really interesting comments from the IAEA chief, Dominic. So what more should we read into them?
One of the perhaps most standout comments from Mr. Grossi at that news conference was in response to a question from a journalist saying, is the JCPOA dead? Is the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action dead? That nuclear deal signed so long ago. And he said, well, in the space of the next 4 weeks, we'll find out. It could be a fatal blow to hopes of the restoration of that deal. Let's remember the chronology of what's happened here. Just a few days ago, Mr. Grossi was saying that his agency had really serious concerns about 3 specific sites in Iran where it believes that uranium has been enriched. It wants to know what's happened to that uranium and indeed to the devices that were used to enrich the uranium. The Iranian government has not given any kind of assurances, A, to the material, where it is, nor indeed B, to what's happened to the equipment used to enrich it. As a consequence of that, the IAEA put through a resolution on Wednesday evening which deplored that situation, called on the Iranians to return to compliance with the conditions they'd agreed to sign up to in the first place. That didn't happen. As a consequence, we have the news conference which Mr. Grossi gave, and we have the Iranian government making that announcement about the removal of those 27 further cameras at relevant sites. And there is also the fact that the Iranian government has said it's going to install new high-grade centrifuges called cascades at some of its facilities, all of which shows the level of difference, of distance between the two sides. And if we are to believe Mr. Grossi, then in his opinion, within the next 4 weeks, that nuclear deal, or any hopes of reviving it, could be dealt a fatal blow.
Dominic Kane in Berlin with the latest. Thanks very much, Dominic.
Okay, one more.
If you can always pay in cash, you don't need help finding a credit card. If not, there's Credit Karma.
From Ohio.
Madam Speaker, we reserve.
Gentleman from New York.
I reserve.
Who seeks time?
We're prepared to close.
The gentleman from New York is prepared to close. The gentleman from Ohio prepared to close?
Yes, Madam Speaker, but I will yield a minute and a half to my friend from Florida, Mr. Gates.
Gentleman's recognized for a minute and a half.
I thank the gentleman for yielding. Well, we have heard the plan from Democrats. This is not a modest trimming around the edges of gun laws. It has been a full-throated assault on the Second Amendment, a desire to deprive people of the weapons that they choose at the age that they achieve majority. And we've heard countless examples of where the good guy with the gun has been the difference between more or less bloodshed. But this is particularly an aggrieved time to bring this legislation forward because we heard the Speaker of the House recently say that members of the Republican Party were members of a cult. So you now have House Democrats demeaning, defaming, calling extremists tens of millions of Americans while they try to disarm you and then subsequently defund the police. And so no good guys are coming when the woke mob ends up at your door. That's their plan for America, and gun control, unrestrained gun control, is a key part of it. And just like they said, they'll pack the court, they'll blow up the filibuster, they'll abuse every more of this place for the opportunity to take down the Second Amendment. That's what's at issue. That's what we're fighting for. And Republicans in the United States Senate should not sign up for this charade. They should stand with our fellow Americans for the Constitution and with American gun owners. I yield back to the gentleman from Ohio.
Is the gentleman from Ohio prepared to close?
We are, Madam Speaker.
Is the gentleman from...
Okay, so now you see why we are not stopping the killing of, children, innocent children at school. The one just last month, I think in Texas, Sandy Hook before that, and many other, and the murder by these machine guns. The reason, because of the Republicans aggressively standing for Second Amendment, and no solution. So next time again, we're gonna hear another killings, another murder of innocent children. There is no solution. You say it. They give you all the reasons to defend uh, the Second Amendment. Yes, okay, that's in the Constitution. But what we can do about these innocent children deaths and all these crimes committed by these heavy machines? That's the questions we have to answer as an Americans. How we gonna get the solution? What we have to do? How we gonna stop these 18 years and other criminals using heavy guns, purchasing guns, and killing innocent civilians, especially young children. So the Republicans, they have to answer such question and other questions uh, to to end this murder. I know the Democrats are doing it, but they are trashed and they are blamed like anti-gun laws and anti-Second Amendment, and it's very very tough one. And also you can pay a heavy price because gun-loving companies, individuals, they pay money and donate money for the when you are running for election. If you are anti-gun, uh, especially in the Republican states, you could easily lose. That's why I said very tough one to deal with. That's why we're gonna, after a while, we're gonna hear another news, another breaking news: children killed, being killed by some crazy individuals getting arm, purchasing arm easily. So I hope this will come to an end. I hope the Republicans think again, think twice, and find, without mm, preventing, citizens to get armed, according to Second Amendment, according to the Constitution. But how can we prevent the criminals from killing our children? That's the issue. So that's a very tough one. Thank you again. I will be back with other news and update. I hope all the conflict in Ethiopia will come to an end. I hope like Jawar Mohamed, in a peaceful manner without sacrificing, if possible. But sometimes you will be forced to engage in a war because the other party want to destroy you despite your effort. Thank you so much. I am back, and Concerned Citizens Media is back. Try to come as soon as possible if any breaking news or any good news. And enjoy your weekend, and please be safe, and so long, everyone.